G'day guys, I hope you're all well. In today's video, I cover some topics such as how I knew something was up and something wasn't quite right and the symptoms that I was feeling at the time. Also what I highly recommend you do about it, who you see and what you get done, and also what my symptoms were straight after surgery and what they are today. So I highly suggest you watch the whole way through to the end, guys. So as I mentioned before, guys, I knew something wasn't quite right. I was actually out one day running with one of my clients. I'm a personal trainer. So we're running through the park, and then out of nowhere, I got this overpowering dizziness where I couldn't stand up, and I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, we had to stop the session, and then I managed to relax a little bit. I got back to my car, and then I drove home. At the time, I thought I just hadn't eaten enough that day and I was just run down and tired. But that was the first major overpowering sign that I felt. And generally, if your body isn't functioning right, it will give you a sign, and that was it. Other signs that I felt were the obvious vertigo and dizziness, but I also had headaches and I also had anxiety, like severe anxiety. And for a long time, we thought this was all just an anxiety disorder, but yeah, it turned out to be a little bit more nasty than that. So yeah, if you're having any of those symptoms, guys, I definitely recommend you get it looked at. I highly recommend go to your GP, ask for an MRI. Don't get a CAT scan or a CT scan, they're not detailed enough. You need an MRI. In fact, the last CT scan I had said there was nothing in my brain. Then I got an MRI just to double check, and there was. So yeah, a CAT scan's pointless. Get an MRI. Don't be a typical male to all the guys out there. Go and get it checked out. If you're struggling with dizziness or headaches or anxiety, it's better to go get an MRI and the doctors say to you there's nothing there, which would be incredible news, then you leave it and you leave it and you leave it until something really hits your health and you're like, wow, something's really wrong. Prevention is better than cure, and catching everything early is way better than waiting around and being a stubborn male. Trust me, I've lived that path. So yeah, I've had a few people write to me saying they've got a few little issues similar to mine. My advice, go and get an MRI tomorrow. Guys, having brain surgery was the biggest decision of my life. It was easily, and still is, the hardest thing I've ever done, but also the best thing that I've ever done. So I'll give you a bit of a breakdown of my timeline. I had surgery on March 11. I woke up from surgery and the first thing I did, I wiggled my toes because I was paranoid I was going to wake up and wouldn't be able to walk. So I was alive, my feet were working, I was really happy. But at that stage, I couldn't walk. I had severe double vision where if I looked at the television on my hospital bed wall, there were two of them and they were both circling around like that. I couldn't swallow, so I couldn't eat, drink, or swallow my saliva. So I felt like I was getting waterboarded, like tortured, for months. Imagine if you can't swallow that build up of saliva in your throat. It's very, very difficult. So in a nutshell, my timeline, I couldn't stand up for 4 weeks. My first ever goal was to be able to stand in the middle of a room without holding on to anyone or anything. So I've achieved that, which is incredible. I was so happy when I did that. I couldn't eat, drink, or swallow for 10 weeks, and I couldn't walk unassisted for 13 weeks. And then after about 10 weeks, the double vision has started to go away, but my eyesight still definitely isn't perfect. So, with those deficits, I kind of had to go through my everyday, which was challenging, but I stayed positive. And we eventually got there. So guys, it's been 21 weeks today since my surgery. After a lot of physio, a lot of occupational therapy, and a lot of speech pathology, which are 3 industries you get put through in your rehab and recovery process, combined with a lot of patience and positivity and self-talk of you can do this one day at a time, let's get through it, and a lot of support from my family, I'm now at the stage where I'm more independent. So I went back to work part-time 2 days ago. I can now walk unassisted, so no walkers, no cane. I walk like a little bit of a duck or a little bit of a penguin, but I just say it's swagger, so that's pretty cool. One of the major things that I'm stoked about is I'm starting to try and eat more foods more confidently. Where before there were a list of foods that I knew I couldn't eat, now I will try everything. And if it's not going down well, like if I can't swallow it, I just decide not to continue eating it. But I'm getting through most foods, which is great. Another major milestone, I had my first beers with the boys on Saturday night. So I had 2 beers and I sipped them very slowly so that I could swallow them down. Just a really good sign that I am getting better and I'm getting more independent. My vision is nearly back to what it was. It's about an 8 out of 10. This left eye is actually still a little bit frozen. I got a lot of left side weakness from the surgery and I still have a bit of numbness in my face. And a week and a half ago, I developed a tremor in my left arm. So sometimes it like shakes uncontrollably. So I'm looking into fixing that up quite soon. But my number 1 tip, guys, put in the hard work, stay patient, stay positive. And for me, coming from a sporting background, I made sure I was the first person to turn up to rehab or physio or PT or whatever you're doing to recover. And I was always the last person to leave. The more you train and the more steps you take and the more bites and swallows you take, you're retraining your brain to remember what to do, and it gets better and better and better at it. So practice what you preach is my number 1 piece of advice. Guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you want to help me spread my inspiration, my positivity, and let me help as many people as I can, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification. And if you have any questions or any topics you want me to cover, please add them in the comments below and I'll be down there straight after this to answer them and to have a dialogue with you. Take care, guys. One day at a time. Peace.